Alright, so I made a video yesterday. I'm sure everybody, whoever might be following, paying attention, I want to thank you for following the little life of my little buddy, Cheesy the squirrel. He did pass away yesterday. That was, which I made this video yesterday, but I didn't. I was kind of all over the place, man. I was a little upset about my little man freaking passing, man. He was only a year old, man. It hurt my feelings. I guess I do have feelings. But I just want to thank anybody, man, who followed his life, man. And it was a freaking great thing. A great little adventure for me and him. I wish I could have provided him a better life. And I learned from him. I hope anybody watching, man, you know, just outside of Cheesy the Squirrel, I still make some other videos, man, that I try to reach people with the love of God, with the love of Christ, man. And so one of the things I will say, yeah, man, he passed away on me. And, you know, I went through a lot of stuff, like, you know, what I could have did better, feeling like I failed him and let him, and like I messed it up, you know. What could I have did better, or a better life I could have provided for him, which I do wish that I would have got a hold of. I wish I would have been more serious about getting him to a place that could raise him with other squirrels and get him back into the wild, which he got hurt a couple times earlier in his life, and I don't know if that would have hindered his interactions with those other squirrels anyways, but I know raising him as a house pet, I didn't mean to raise him I tried to get him out into the wild, but he would just run back to the house, and you know, I loved him, my kids loved him, and you know, it was a great little time, man. And he's tremendously missed, which but I learned from him. You know, I do wish he would have had a longer life. You know, because in captivity, you know, I read it says, you know, that he would have, they could live up to 25 years. And he made it 1 year with me. Which, what rules did I break? You know, I do remember reading, like, don't give them salt. Which I didn't. But I did do that. I did every once in a while, you know. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But throughout his life, I want to share this. So I did get to spend his last moments with him, you know, luckily, because I went to his cage to find him, and I built him a little tent thing with a shower curtain, a little towel that goes over it, and the edges of the towel went under his mat that he slept on. I got a couple other videos I'm going to post of his little casket type thing I made him, and you know, how I covered him up and stuff. I'm going to share that. But when I went in there to check on him in his little habitat thing that I built him with the sticks and stuff that I've showed on here, he wasn't in there. And I was like, okay, which he's been getting out of his cage, and he'll go down 4 flights of steps to the kitchen and you know, hide under something. I don't know if he licked some chemicals. I don't know what he did. I've had to go through all the questions of, what could have happened, and I know that I don't have the answer, and I'm not, it ain't like I can go sniff out chemicals and find out or anything, you know. But I learned a little bit about grief from this. Like, I never wanted pets because of ducking responsibility. And I always had the attitude, like, why would I take care of an animal when I have children that I didn't even do good enough with, So I always had that attitude, like I would never spend money on a pet when I have kids, But there was learning things, man. There was learning things in there. So when I found him, he wasn't in his tent, which is where he usually is, or he's on the sticks. He's somewhat active, he'll be somewhere. But I just figured he got out, but I looked down and there he was at my feet. And so I picked him up and I immediately knew that something was wrong because he was very lethargic and just limp, He was breathing and he moved his head like, real sketchy like. I'm like, oh man, something's not right, And I know that his heart beats 300 times a minute and he's just, quick on, squirrels are a very sketchy animal. They're very, hyper vigilant, or if you would say maybe, but I put my thumb on his heart to feel, and I was like, that's not right, But I took him downstairs and started running him underwater, and I was like, it was just like he was fading fast. And I tried to blow in his mouth. I did that a couple times, like I was doing CPR, pushing on his chest a little bit. But I watched his breath get shorter, and I watched, like he wouldn't be breathing. He was just getting limper and limper, and I watched him take deep breaths. I'm like, it was horrible, but I was glad to spend the last moments of his life with him. I was glad I found him and he didn't die alone. And like there was some behavior changes. Like he used to be aggressive. Like when you'd go to stick your hands, he would growl at everybody, bite at people if they jerked their hands away. He would do all that stuff. And I realized that his bites didn't hurt. I just overcame fear and I would just grab him. And I had this thing in my heart, like love covers a multitude of sins. So as aggressive as he was, which he wasn't ever that aggressive, but he's scary because he has teeth and people don't want to be bit. But once I got past that and learned that stuff, I'm like, okay, I don't care how little mean and growling you're going to be. I would just grab him, I'd pull him and I'd hold him to my chest, and I'd just pet him and love him to death, and he became the most calmest squirrel there was, and that bothered me because I wanted him to be fast and climbing trees and running all over the place, but it was so good to love him to death and get him back to life like that. And then on top of that, he loved me scratching behind his ears and stuff. But I would go to his cage and he would just come out excited to see me and stuff, and put his head in my hand and he'd just rest his head in my hand, and I'd just scratch him behind his ears and stuff. He loved that, man. I just want to share that, and that was, he'll be missed, and I hope you guys, will follow along, for any other stuff I do on here.